I don't know if they're.
Yeah, so-
Definitely. Okay.
It's okay.
Hi, everybody.
I'm doing
Now
the
we're gonna get started.
certificate thing, so.
Oh, okay, sales certificate.
My name is Ted Wolf.
See you.
Welcome one and all. As I've told people before, I'm hoping I can make this interesting. It's very basic, and it's about sales. And the reason that they asked me is I've actually been in media sales for nearly 40 years. I started out in newspaper, worked in radio, worked in TV, worked a Central Illinois kid. Born and raised in Champaign, moved to Bloomington, haven't moved far beyond that. So I've worked at places you've known like the Pantograph and the News Gazette, WDWS in Champaign, and now I'm here at WMBD WYZZ in Bloomington. And if you haven't seen our new office, it's right next to the Castle Theater. We have a beautiful front door sign now. I'm here today to talk about sales. And as we know, everything is sales. One of the things I learned early on, and this is not, I have to say everything is not my original thought, is that people buy emotionally. Later on, they justify that emotion with reason. So when you approach that thought of people wanting to buy, as opposed to people, because you get, when you approach someone to take care of your service or your product, you often get rejection. They want to buy it. They just don't want to be sold on it. They don't want to feel like somebody's pushing them. They want to make that decision themselves. And also the idea that you have a script for your sale. Early on in my sales life, managers kept handing me scripts and said, use this script, it works. Well, it works sometimes. Everything works sometimes. One size does not fit all. I try to use that in my business too. You get that call, well, send me something. I want to find out more about what you do first. So sending you something is not the way to go. You want to know what they are, what they do. So you adapt your approach to your client, stronger connections. Of course, the idea, the stronger the connection, the more the sales. It's also important to know who you are and your role in that sales process. How many of you here actually do direct selling? Okay. So you know that you have a certain, on to the next, you have a certain format that you traditionally go through, a sales pitch. Now, a sales pitch, it can be for a product, it can be for a service, it can be for anything. This idea of the sales pitch, and the reason I have the cash register there, dates back to the late 1800s. Back in the day when it was a new idea to sell cash registers to businesses. Because in the old days, it was all done by hand, written down on receipts. And some guy came along by the name of William Patterson and said, well, let's sell you cash registers. It will keep track of your sales, et cetera, et cetera. But we need to know a way to sell it because this is a brand new product. And he came up with the sales pitch idea. And it's the basic steps that he came up with were greeting, which is, I'm here today to sell you a cash register. Story, which is to tell you about the cash register. Show, which is to show you how it works. And then the close. Now there's about 1 million different branches off of each of those. And if you read any sales literature in your studying or in your work to grow your sales ability, you're going to find different names for these. One is introduction. I can't remember all the names off the hand, but this is the one I learned back in the early 90s. And it's funny how we all go through that process with a lot of different things. That's basically how you have communications with somebody to get something accomplished. But it's important that you have them in that order. And I learned why, because once you get to the show, you have lost your client. Really important to keep it with the discussion first. Find out what they need, find out what you can do to help them, or you put something in their excuse me, in their hands. I've been dealing with a cold for the last 4 weeks, so I apologize. How many of you lose it on the greeting part when you call? That's usually where I lose it. Early on is I don't make that, I stumble, I'll say something silly, I'll say something I didn't mean to say, something inappropriate, happens all the time. Once I get into the story though, if I know my product, if I know my service, it's easy. People who have done this for the certificate, there are a few of you here, I know that. You heard this stuff from Greg the last time. Excuse me, I'm gonna have to do a lozenge. I apologize.
Can I get you some water
I
back?
got water right here.
Okay.
That's a good point too. I'm used to talking a lot, but like I said, I've had this. Greg was talking about this before too. There are different types of clients that you're going to run into. And the important part is that you know how to recognize this type of person. Because as I said before, the cookie cutter approach, it will work sometimes. And one thing to keep in mind as you go through these types of people is they can be multiple. Myself, I'm amiable, I'm harmonious. I like to get along. I like to have friendships in my business dealings, but I'm also analytical. I want to know what's going on. I like getting into the numbers, finding out what's working, what isn't working. And I like to report numbers from what I do to my clients. Excuse me. Recognizing these people allows you the opportunity to tailor what you're saying, what you do to your particular client. How many of you who do types of sales do you deal with one client or groups? You deal with groups for, so it's difficult because you have to deal with a lot of people at one time. It's a lot easier to deal one-on-one, face-to-face, but dealing with groups, you're going to have somebody from each of these. So you're going to have to pattern what you do to address all those things. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So driver, aggressor. Those are the people who stand up.
I stand showing up late, but I just spent 6 weeks.
Oh,
40 minutes.
I'm glad you're here. We're just talking about sales, the sales pitch, talking about the different type of clients you're going to run into.
Okay.
Driver, aggressor, decisive, sometimes pushy, expressive, emotive. Those are people who, they say the big picture. Sometimes it's their own view of the big picture too. It's important to remember that people have an outcome that you might not have discerned from what they have told you. It's important to find out what their desired outcome is. Amiable, harmonious, again, that's me. I want to get along, I want to have fun, I want to laugh with my clients. And the analytical wants to know the numbers, wants to know how it works. If you're in a car dealership, they're the ones who are going to pop the hood. Here are some easy ways to define those people. A lot of times you have to do this on the fly. If you have the benefit, like I do, of researching who your client is before you have to go meet them and find out what their business does. There's a thing I use on LinkedIn called Crystal, which will do a personality test. And this is not on any quizzes, but it'll actually do a personality test on the person you're looking at and tell you where they fall in this category, in these categories, without you having to do anything. AI, I'm sure it's an AI thing. AI has taken over everything on earth, but sometimes it works really well and to your advantage. Because I can go in and I can find out before I go to meet with this person if I should be prepared with stats and tables and charts so that I can go in and say, hey, look what this does, look what that does. Or if I should have something creatively presented so it appeals to them on the emotional side, or a story. Stories are good ones for emotional buyers so that they know, this is what I worked with Joe Smith at A1 Plumbing, and what he liked about this was A, B, and C. They like that type of story. That gives them something to have that emotional feel, that connection. They might even know Joe Smith. Driver, my best advice with the driver, let them do the talking. Pop in when you need to keep the conversation steered in the right direction. But they're the ones who are going to want to do the talking. They want to drive that sale. And if you let them sell themselves, most times they will. And for them, it boils down to, can I afford this? And if you can make your presentation as attractive as possible, they're going to justify the price. And as I said before, people buy emotionally, justify later. So if you can make that emotional appeal, you can make it sound like something that's worth buying, price will work out for itself. Quick cheat sheet. Driver, be direct. As I said, let them do the talking. Expressive, be inspiring, tell stories, be warm, but amiable, also be personal. I like to tell jokes. One of the jokes I was going to tell today, some people might know I had tried to arrange a lunch for today. I had it all worked out for you guys, honestly, but everything fell through. And that's the nature of sales. It's not closed until it's done. A close is not a close until you have the sign on the line or the check in hand or the guy driving away in the car or the agreement, to the banquet center on this weekend with this block of rooms and all that. So it isn't done until it's done. As they used to say at my old job at the newspaper, nothing's done until the paperwork's finished. And that's absolute truth. Now, for me personally, a lot of sales training, a lot of discussion about sales is always focused on who your client is. You will hear things like overcoming objections. And yeah, overcoming objections is important. I don't want to downplay any of this. All these things are important. Being able to know who your client is, being able to talk to them, being comfortable with that sort of thing. So there are some things that they say to do that I have done in the past. Sometimes it works. I find it better to be myself, and I'll get more into that a little bit later. But they talk about matching their tone and their pace when you talk. If somebody's talking to you and they're using their hands a lot, like I do, the idea is, of course, use your hands when you're talking to them. Or if they're real quiet and close talking, if they, tone down a little bit like this. You don't go at them like this. Bring your tone down to match theirs so that they're comfortable with the way you're speaking. They kind of dictate where you're going. Again, match the message to meet that type of client. And of course, you have to be flexible on this. You can't, again, the cookie cutter approach, has not worked for years. It worked when we were a economy that it could only, you could only get apples in the fall. And some of us might remember those days. But, oranges were something that came around wintertime for Christmas. And now we have an economy that you have what you want on demand at any time. So we have to be adaptive for clients. One thing important to keep in mind is the sales cycle. One of the things that people run into is, for instance, if you're a lawn care or you have a commercial lawn care contract with a client, you sold them a 12-month contract, you're going to be doing mowing every 2 weeks, and in the wintertime, you're doing snow removal. And so you take it easy. You've signed the contract, paying their monthly payment, got the sale done. So your sales cycle is 12 months, right? Well, problem is, if you're not in contact with your client, they're going to forget about who you are. If you're not letting them know that you're doing the work that you contracted to do, they're going to find fault with it. So you keep in contact with them on a regular basis. Your sales cycle could be really a monthly thing. You don't want to let them go. You want to keep that relationship with your client. Obsolescence, if you have a product that is designed to be obsolete, some things are like a license plate is an easy one. That's a great way for the government to make money. You think about it, that's a revenue generating thing for them. It really has no other purpose than to allow them to have money in their coffers. So they have a designed obsolescence in their product. Delivery. Your sale does not end with just the delivery. It ends with follow-up after the delivery to make sure they're satisfied, to make sure they're happy customers. And when you end the sale with delivery, they forget about you. The next time they want your product, your service, it's an open field, and you have to start from the very beginning. We sell them all over. So it's important to keep records on who you sell, who buys from you, who inquires from you. And that's the whole idea of data analysis. There's a lot of ways that you can keep your records. I don't know how many of you have a CRM product that you use, a customer relations management software. That's an important thing to have. You can do it as simply as a spreadsheet or as complex as like a Salesforce product. I use something called Matrix, which works really well. I had tried Salesforce in the past. I'm not going to make any disparaging comments. It's a really robust product. But for most of my sales life, I've used just the simple spreadsheet or notebook. In the old days, I had a book that was the cards, individual cards. You've probably seen some older salespeople who have the sales card books, the business card books. That was how I kept track of who my clients were. And because we didn't have computers, believe it or not, we did have computers, but they weren't capable of dealing with that. So you need to keep track. Another great way to keep track and collect data is email newsletters. You capture that email address, you now have a potential warm client list. And you keep that list, you market to that list, and you find that you will actually increase your list as you go along as more people join. It's kind of one of those critical mass ideas. Social media, if you're not up to date on social media, I know Amanda's awesome at social media. I see her posts all the time. That's a good thing because that keeps her top of mind. I don't forget about her. It's one of those things where I know what's going on. I know what she's working on. I know what she's doing. It's a great place to be. The truth about marketing is your conversation with your current clients and potential clients. If you're not marketing, you're not talking to anybody. You have to be marketing every day, every single day that you're working. And I know it's one of those things that you don't want to think about. Marketing is one of those dirty secrets that, yeah, we're all doing it all the time. If you notice, I'm wearing a t-shirt or a polo that has my company logo on it. That is part of marketing. Something as simple as that. You wearing a name tag with where you work. That's a marketing thing. When I work with clients to do interviews, I always say, do you have logo wear? Do you have something that has your name, business name on it, so that they not only see at the end of your interview business logo, but they see it all through the interview so that they know who you are. Branding is part of marketing, but marketing is also, as I said, keeping that conversation alive between current clients, potential clients, anybody you might run into. Now, as I said all this, it's so important that we pay attention to who we're talking to. But I have a dear friend named Dennis, and he always says, well, who are you bringing to the party? And, it took me a long time to figure out what he meant by that. But the person I bring to the party is the same person I sleep with every night. And I have to be comfortable with those people. And that is me. If I'm not comfortable with me, that's going to show. That's going to spoil whatever I try to do. So personal development. Dirty word, people don't like to hear about it. It could be something as professional therapy as a great way for personal development. Or having a mentor. If you don't have a mentor, I strongly suggest you find somebody. A mentor is a great thing to have to help with that personal development. It gives you somebody to bounce ideas off of. One of the things, I have a mentor who lives out in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And my usual opening line to him is, I'll call him up and say, Michael, do I sound crazy? Tell him what I'm thinking. And he'll listen to me, give me an honest answer. Michael has been, we've been colleagues. He's been my boss. I've been his boss in the years that we've worked in the newspaper industry. And he and I both are ex-newspaper industry people. We always talk about how the newspaper was like a bad marriage. It was great at one point, not good anymore. Keep thinking about going back, but it's not worth it. And we should know better. And we don't ever learn. But, so we talk about that a lot, but we also talk about what's going on in our businesses. And I bounce ideas off of him, and he is one of the salespeople I've ever met. Sales philosophy. Anybody who's in sales, anybody who's making that pitch, you have to have an idea of why you're doing it. Number one, of course, believe in your product, obviously, service. That's really vital. But why are you doing this? Why are you making this pitch? What do you hope to accomplish? For me, I had to learn early on, if it's just about making money, it's not worth it. I need more in my life than that. I can make money a good amount, just by flipping burgers or working in a grocery store, where I don't have to try quite as hard. I'll make a living wage. I'll be okay. But if I have a sales philosophy where I want you, Mr. Business Person, this business person, to succeed, I want you to have results from what we do. I want to see you grow. I want to see people say, well, I saw you on TV. That is one of my favorite things. I love to hear that. When I talk to my clients and they say, oh, everybody said, I go to the bank and they say, oh, there's the TV star. That means what we're doing is working. I had a client in Savoy back when I was in my newspaper days, and he was a funeral home. And we started a campaign with him where he put his picture. He was not the most attractive man in the world, but we put his picture on every ad. And he would go around and people would say, oh, you're the funeral guy. He said, that's exactly what I want to have happen. I want to be the funeral guy. It doesn't matter what I look like. I want people to know who I am, what I do. And it worked for him. So paying attention to results is very important. My sales philosophy is, the results matter. What we have between me and my clients, I think is a special bond. Want to see that grow. I'm here to be a trusted, reliable person in their lives. Willingness to change, that's the hard part. Because I get into habits that are bad habits. They worked at one time. It was a good thing. Maybe being shorter with my clients during a certain point of the year because it was busier worked out for me at one time. But I keep up that habit years later when it's no longer important. It used to be in the newspaper business every November and December. You couldn't get a hold of me. I was so busy. So I wouldn't call you. November and December, marketing has changed. We aren't the sales flyer type thing where, oh, Black Friday deals. I got to get the newspaper to find out what the Black Friday deals. The internet's taken over all that. We don't need that type of marketing anymore. So I can keep in contact with my clients more substantially in those months than I used to. I need to be willing to change those behaviors. This one I put in because this has been something that touched my heart. It was about 10 years ago. Somebody brought this to me. And this is from a book called The Four Agreements. And this is not religion, but it's something that I found. If I follow this, the person I bring to the party feels good. The person I take to bed goes to sleep easily. The Four Agreements: be impeccable with your word. And then some of you may have already read these before. As I said, nothing in this presentation is new. Be impeccable with your word. What does that mean? Well, if you say you're going to do something, do it. And of course, there's always that opportunity where I meant to do it, something bad happened, something good happened, can't do it. Let them know. Be open with your dialogue and let your clients know. Don't take anything personally. One of my mentors who's passed away used to always tell me, what other people think about you is none of your business. I want you guys to like me. I do. But if you don't, I can't base my enjoyment of my life on whether you do or not. If I do that, then you are responsible for my life. And that's not, I should be living my life. I should be living my life as a grown adult responsible for myself. Don't make assumptions. That works in every area of life. I worked with a client who was a nursing home, and we were doing a job fair for Parkland College. And the nursing home had always bought this premier back page ad for our job fair guide. So I called her that year and said, you want to renew your back page ad? The price is going up to this. She said, well, we don't have anybody to hire. We're fully staffed. And it was during a period when unemployment in Illinois was around 2%. It was very difficult to do things like job fairs. But I did not make the assumption that she shouldn't have it. That would have been a bad assumption to make, because she's fully staffed. That's okay. But don't you want people to know who you are? This is as important as hiring new people, is to let people know, hey, we are this nursing home. We do have staffing issues from time to time. Maybe you're going to be the one. Maybe this, message will be that message that resonates with people. And always do your best, no matter how you feel. And always do your best might not be the best that you can do. Well, that sounds weird. Some days you're not going to feel good. You're going to do your best for how you are at that moment. I can't do my best all the time. My best is fantastic. My mediocre best is mediocre, and that's the best I can do. And I'm not making excuses. I try to do what I can do. And if anybody's a parent, they know sometimes, you want to be the best parent possible, but sometimes you don't have the patience that you should have. Do your best with what you've got at the moment. Parenting is one of the greatest things that has ever happened to me in my professional career, because I learned so much from my kids that it's applies to my life as a whole. So I don't know if you know who this guy is. This is Charlie Moore, who is president. President of the chamber. And Charlie always says, people do business with people they know and trust. How do you develop knowledge and trust? And that's by communicating to people where they are. Whether they're decisive driver, whether they're the amiable or the emotive type, or the analytical type. Communicate with them where they are. They develop trust in you. If you're impeccable with your word, do what you say and do your best, develop that trust. Of course, what happens, do that, people know who you are, trust you, they buy from you. It makes the sales process much easier. No, I didn't use an hour and a half. So I guess I could open it up for any questions that what I've covered. Anybody have any concerns? Yes.
Question about kind of like a best practice when it
Mhm.
comes to sales and operations.
Okay.
So I'm like out there selling a variety of services. Some I will be overseeing on a day-to-day basis. They're my day-to-day customer. Others I'm handing off,
Yep.
but I still have that trust with the client because they bought from me.
Right.
I'm having someone else watch the day-to-day and
Yes.
serve them. So there's that. There's a little challenge on this side of the equation. And so
I have that same issue. Yeah.
the best practice, would a salesperson just continue to be involved?
I try to be involved. Yes.
And when you get the pushback that says they're my customer now, you know what I mean? Like, how are you navigating some of that? I'm new.
Well, and that's relationships within your company then, right?
Yeah, a little-
Yeah. And I get that, and I know I have issues with that myself. I'm not immune to that.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with those as we speak. But the client, I want them to trust me.
Yeah.
I want to be their trusted. Gary, who used to work, Gary Donahue, who used to work here in town. Well, I guess he's back now. So he used to always say, I want to be your trusted supplier. And so my idea is I keep in contact with them about what I'm doing with them. And then I also bring up, oh, how's this going? Anything you want me to pass along?
Yeah.
And try to keep a plausible, hands-off attitude towards it, but be there for them. And you can always talk to me. If you don't have to dial an 800 number, you don't have to call anybody else. You can call me direct. I will get you to the right person that needs to handle what you do, because I have a lot of products that are handled by other people, people in Austin, Texas, or other parts of the country. And it's always fearful if they're not doing their job, but I do trust these people do their job pretty well. So I'm happy with that.
So it's kind of a common dynamic.
Yeah.
Really trying to navigate that with.
But I try to say, any questions on this, I will make sure so-and-so knows about it. And, one of the things in the businesses that I've worked in, we deal with newsroom. Newsrooms are difficult things to deal with because I'm in advertising and commerce and news don't meet. News wants to be independent and they want to be somebody that's not beholden to a dollar like the advertising side is. And I've worked with newsrooms for decades. And what I've learned is I shove as much information that my advertiser can give me towards the newsroom. I always tell them, write me a press release, a single sheet, who, what, where, and why. Contact me for more information. My newsrooms that I work with will tell you I bother them with press releases. I send so many press releases from different clients because the newsroom needs to know they might not act on it. I might not convince them to. They're part of that whole organization. And my client trusts me. They don't trust the newsroom to follow up because the newsroom has no motivation to, because they have other goals and other plans and other things on that. But that's fascinating
Yeah.
problem
Mm-hmm.
because it happens so much. I'm well aware of that.
Even though you're technically playing on the same team.
Yes, we're on the same team, but we do different things that are in conflict. That's a great point.
I mean, we're just human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that we always joked about, especially with newspapers, is every year we do special financial sections. Tell you how to invest your money better, how to do this. And the newsroom would always go out and select one of the brokers in town to interview for information on how to do this better. Well, they would always pick somebody who's not an advertiser. Always had that conversation. It's just as easy to pick somebody who is. Just because they're an advertiser doesn't mean their information is any better or worse. But they were trying to be independent. And what these advertisers are paying for the section that they're running in. Yeah, we run into that issue all the time. Any other questions? I do invite you, if you didn't like what you heard, to throw tomatoes. I'm an old theater nerd myself, so I'm used to that. I was telling Micah, that when I was in high school, we did a play about the world of Carl Sandburg. That was the name of it, The World of Carl Sandburg. And there were more people in the cast than there were in the audience. So nobody wanted to see a play about Carl Sandburg. You want to do so. If you want to do that, you'd want to do the world of Mick Jagger or something. People would have showed up to that, but Carl Sandburg, I guess, is too dry. So that is it for me. The folks who have questionnaires, you know what to do with those. Also, I do want to mention, if you haven't already, the 125th anniversary of the chamber was just celebrated, what, a month ago?
A couple weeks ago.
It's time flying. They had these, my wife loves this, these wonderful blankets.
We're soft.
They're incredibly soft. And if you're anything like my wife, it doesn't matter the temperature, you have to have a blanket on.
It's tailgating season right now, so I just.
Middle of summer. She'll have a blanket wrapped around her, the air conditioning's on full blast, and she'll say, "I'm hot." Take off the blanket. Ooh. So, wonderful blankets. Please pick one up. And thank you for your attention today. I hope I wasn't too boring for you. And if you have any questions, if you want to learn more about what I do, I welcome you. I will be happy to take you out for coffee and discover more about what you do and what I do. And, so I'm always here to build new friendships and new relationships. Thank you.